March 22, 2023, 1:45 in the afternoon. A gated hamlet 15 kilometers south of Milan. A man stands up out of a chair in a bright room and walks toward his own front door. 7 minutes later, at 1:52, his ankle tag reports that it has lost contact. The ankle belongs to Artem Uss, indicted by the United States for moving American military-grade microelectronics into Russia, components of the kind later pulled out of Russian weapons on Ukrainian battlefields. He has never stood trial anywhere. Every charge against him is an allegation. Brooklyn is holding roughly 30 years for him. No parole, an ocean from his wife. America will eventually put $7 million on his head. Milan's prosecutors will later put a count in writing: 124 alarms from this one device in 79 days. Everyone investigated. Everyone closed as a fault, because every single time somebody knocked, Uss opened the door. This alert is number 125, the first true one. A patrol reaches the armored door in about 15 minutes. Television still on. Clothes over the back of a chair. A cut band on the floor. No man in the building. Here's what you need to understand. The state wasn't slow. It arrived on time, and it made no difference. Every object in that room was legal. The tag, the door, the court order that put him behind it. A court in Milan did send a man to prison for what happened inside that house. This April, he was released and cleared to fly home. He is not Artem Uss. Getting Uss out cost about 50,000 euros, one keycard and a bag of groceries. Nothing broke. Nobody was bribed. So how does a man hunted by the most powerful legal system on earth end up under arrest inside his own luxury villa, and then walk out of it on a Wednesday afternoon? Artem Uss is 40, and everything in his life arrived the same way. He saw it, priced it, paid, the villa, the Italian bank account, shareholdings folded behind a Cyprus trust, a wife at ease in Milan's hotel lobbies. His father governs Krasnoyarsk, a surname that opens every door in Moscow. The son has built his whole adult life a continent away from it, a version of himself no Russian door explains. His profession, as the United States describes it, procurement, a buyer, a man whose gift is knowing what anything costs and paying it without blinking, and whose job, allegedly, was buying things that were not legally for sale. September 26, 2022. A federal grand jury in Brooklyn returns a sealed indictment. 12 counts, 7 defendants. 4 of those counts carry his name, and the exposure sits around 30 years. For a man who has never met a problem money couldn't shrink, it is the first price of his life with no negotiation in it. The charge is about chips, small, export-controlled, the kind that end up inside fighter aircraft, missile guidance, and radar arrays. The indictment says shell companies bought them from American distributors and moved them east behind false paperwork, with a second thread covering sanctioned Venezuelan crude. He denies all of it. October 17, 2022. Malpensa Airport outside Milan. Mid-afternoon on the departures level, rolling bags, gate calls, and Artem Uss inside the current, minutes from a jet bridge. A hand lands on his elbow, almost courteous. He turns, and the afternoon changes state. His eyes flick to the gate, measuring a distance that has just become infinite, 20 meters. Then the walk, back up the concourse against the current, through a gray door the departures level is built to hide, to a desk where a printed sheet already carries his name under an American caption. He signs where shown, fast. The way we're about to learn, he signs everything. The buyer has just become a line item on somebody else's ledger. For 5 months, everything that happens to Artem Uss is decided by Italian judges in Italian, while the most powerful legal system on earth sits in the gallery filing translations. And the first fight isn't extradition at all. It's a room. What does a man who prices everything do the first time he's locked inside something he didn't choose? The answer starts in the only stretch of this story Artem Uss spends behind actual bars. 5 weeks of Italian remand, a bunk bolted to the wall, a light that dies on somebody else's timer, 1 hour a day of walled-in sky. An instruction goes out to the lawyers. Get me a different room, whatever it costs. November 8th, 2022. His defense files an application. They want the Milan Court of Appeal to move him from prison into house arrest, into his own villa in the gated residential village at Basiglio. Milan's prosecutors fight it. 4 pages in writing. Money, a foreign passport, a family with reach, and the country asking is the United States. Give him a house, and he is gone. Those 4 pages are going to cost one of their authors 3 years of his life. November 25th. The court rules against them, reading the file the way Italian law tells them to. Ties to the territory, a fixed and verifiable domicile, wealth that should have read as escape velocity read as roots. Under Article 275 bis of the Italian Criminal Procedure Code, an electronic tag cannot simply be strapped onto you. The judge orders it only if the accused consents. Refuse, and you go back to the bunk. S consents. A form in legal Italian, a signature laid down at Malpensa speed. The lock on this man's door now exists because he asked for it. December 2nd, the device goes live on his ankle. From that moment, Italian doctrine treats his house as the legal equivalent of prison. An address, a signature, and a radio link. That is the whole cell. Think about what that means. A private company's radio link, a developer's gate, a statute that runs on the prisoner's own consent. Every piece of this cell is a contract, and this prisoner reads contracts for a living. Who takes the first meeting? A Milan hotel, lobby light, espresso cups, a table small enough that nobody needs to raise their voice. Per the prosecutor's later reconstruction, 3 things cross that table: a burner phone, 10,000 euros in cash, and a keycard. The date is disputed. The keycard is not. It opens a door later in this film. The down payment, per the allegation in open court, came through that lobby in his wife's hands. The file calls her a woman at ease in Milan's hotels, and the ease is the whole operation. She has crossed 100 marble floors like this one at her husband's side, and rooms like this stopped watching her years ago. Afternoon light, heels ticking, coat still on, a handbag on her arm weighing what handbags weigh, plus a phone, an envelope, a keycard, her husband's entire escape at the weight of a paperback. She sits, she orders nothing, she counts nothing. She looks at the table no longer than a guest looks at a table, and if her pulse is anywhere near her collar, the lobby never sees it. 3 objects cross, then she is up and out through the doors into Milan, hands empty, pace unchanged. 2 minutes, maybe 3. Italy will charge her over those minutes, and those 2 minutes are all of her that Italy will ever hold. Remember the heels, the coat, the handbag. A chair in this story stays empty for 3 years because of that walk. From that table, the chain runs outward and downward, every link with a name and a price. In Geneva, a fixer, Chirikadze, whose company builds software used by Russia's own court system. In Belgrade, Lolik, with an Audi fueled and waiting at the far end. And in the Veneto, the man who will actually do the work, a Bosnian crew chief called Jovancic, engaged per the Italian file for around 50,000 euros. 50,000 euros, against 12 counts, 30 years, and a superpower. And Jovancic goes all in. March 16th, a dealership counter, a used Volvo. And where the registration form asks for an owner, he doesn't write his own name. He writes his son's. A father signing his boy onto a superpower's getaway car in ink on an ordinary Thursday. Remember him. An Italian court will send him to prison for this. Then the reconnaissance, the stretch where this should have died. Strangers inside a gated community on February 16th, the 17th, the 20th. 3 visits in 5 days, unhurried. 1 man standing in the road, watching signal bars climb and die on the phone in his palm. There were never guards on that property. So what were 3 visits for? They had come to test a radio signal. December passes in silence. January 2nd. The tag drops its link. A duty operator reads the alert and dispatches. The gate arm lifts. 2 officers cross a sleeping compound and knock on an armored door. And it opens, warm light spilling out. Artem Uss standing in his own hallway. Everything all right? It is. Through January, it becomes a rhythm. Alarm, dispatch, drive, knock, door opens. He's home. Type the word, close it. February, same protocol. Until the 3rd week when the pattern convulses. Alarms in clusters now. 3 and 4 packed into a single afternoon. Lay 2 rows of the same calendar on top of each other. Row 1, the crew on the property. February 16th, the 17th, the 20th. Row 2, the alarm spikes, the 20th and the 21st. They were making that tag scream on purpose and standing back, stopwatch running, to see what the state did and how fast, because that tag doesn't talk to a satellite. No GPS. It talks to a control room over a commercial mobile network, and it can only ever say two things: he's here or I've lost him. Smother the signal and the device does exactly what it was built to do. It reports that it can no longer report, and every rehearsal ends on the same doormat. His own crew is out beyond the hedges, strangling the signal on his ankle, and the knock that follows is the receipt arriving. 2 minutes warning from the gate arm. Mute the television. Bare feet on warm stone. Assemble the face in the hallway glass. Mild, faintly puzzled, a householder interrupted at nothing. Then open your own front door to armed police, 4 times in one afternoon, wearing it. Cold air shoves in. Torchlight drops to his socks. Everything all right? He is the only man on that doorstep who knows the alarm is a lie, and he answers like a man who never heard one. One flicker toward his own ankle and 50,000 euros dies on a doormat. The door closes. He stands alone in the warm hallway, listening through double glazing for the engine to fade. Then he resets his face for the next one. The mechanism is loaded. The men who built it wait for one word, and the word belongs to a man himself, waiting on a court that hasn't ruled. March 21st, 2023. The Milan Court of Appeal rules on the American extradition request, and Uss wins. Partially, but genuinely. The court declares surrender admissible on 2 counts only. It refuses the rest, including the military technology count and the money laundering. His best day in an Italian courtroom in 5 months. It is also the day he decides to run. Under Article 708 of the Italian Code, an extradition decision is a clock. 2 to 3 months minimum. At the end of the runway is Brooklyn. That evening, he is alone behind the armored door, television murmuring, compound dark beyond the glass. Running has an invoice, and he knows it line by line. Walking out converts lawful custody into the crime of evasione. It forfeits the villa. Within a month, it will end his father's governorship of Krasnoyarsk. It hands a sentence apiece to 5 other men, some of whose names he may never learn. His father's career. 5 strangers' years. His wife's name. Against 30 of his own. And for once, the pricing stalls. This is a man who has signed everything in this story at speed. The Malpensa sheet, the consent form, the instruction to his lawyers. And now he stands at the dark glass with the phone face down against his leg, signing nothing. What surfaces isn't a number. It's the lobby. Heels on marble. A coat she never took off. A woman crossing a room without once looking at the table, because the man the delivery was for was worth the walk. One word from him and that walk hardens into a charge that never expires. Every border on the continent becomes a tripwire with her name on it. The last safe room in Europe she'll ever stand in is already behind her. She doesn't know that yet. He does. He weighs 30 of his own years against everything on that list and turns the phone over. The screen lights his face. One word leaves Basilio. Go. 4 vehicles start moving that evening. March 22nd, 8:31. A vehicle passes through Trieste. 10:45. Near Bedizol, at the bottom of Lake Garda, the convoy assembles. That morning's routine check has already come and gone. Home, certified, logged. Nobody controls when the next knock comes. They drive anyway. 12:16. The lead car reaches La Chiarella, minutes from Basilio. 12:17. Somebody stops and buys groceries. A man carrying a shopping bag up a residential path at lunchtime is the most invisible object in Europe. 13:06. The convoy enters the residential complex, through the gate, onto private roads in broad daylight. Nobody looks up. 13:40. A man walks to the armored door, bag in one hand, and lays a keycard flat against the reader. 1 beat. The lock releases with a click you wouldn't hear from the next garden. The reader recognized the card it was built to recognize. 13:45. Artem Uss cuts the band off his own ankle. Reinforced plastic doesn't snap. It parts under the blade in about the time it takes to open a parcel, and becomes litter on the carpet of a house he owns. From this second, he is a fugitive, in fact, whatever the control room believes. Then he opens his own front door, steps into cold, bright March light, and walks 200 meters of internal pavement, hedges, kitchen windows, at the pace of a man going nowhere in particular, 111 days since he last stood on the outside of that door. At the northern entrance, a Fiat Bravo, passenger door open, warm plastic, a stranger's aftershave, engine running. 1352. The tag reports lost contact. Alarm 125. On the screen, identical to the 124 before it. This is the coin flip. 50,000 euros was spent rigging. It comes up fault. Around 1407, a patrol is at the armored door. 15 minutes, the fastest anybody has reached that house in 79 days. A television talking to an empty room, a cut band on the carpet. Within minutes, the word goes up the chain and the alert no rehearsal could suppress finally exists. Artem Uss is gone. There is a number nobody has counted. The total time any human being actually spends in a cell for all of it. Warm plastic, a stranger's aftershave. Stay in that passenger seat because the story has just turned inside out. Artem Uss spent a career moving goods east behind clean paperwork. Now he is the goods. He doesn't drive, doesn't choose the route. He sits belted in, doing the one thing cargo does, nothing, while northern Italy pours past the glass, and an alert with his face on it lands on desk after desk behind him. The alert has a name and a photograph. It does not have a car. For the next 4 hours, that gap is the only thing keeping him free. The crew's answer to the cameras is plates. Automatic readers on European motorways stitch one continuous track out of one registration, so they hand him along, vehicle to vehicle, each registered in a different country. Door opens. Cold air, new seat, new stranger, engine already running. The cameras photograph everything anyway. The record just shatters into 4 national datasets that don't talk to each other. But the cars are shedding something the crew hasn't priced. Every few kilometers, the phones riding in those seats check in with another tower. Quiet, automatic, time-stamped. The convoy is dictating the confession that will convict 6 of its own men. Reading it will take 11 million rows. Hold that number. 1717. The A4 motorway, eastbound. A gantry slides overhead. A camera reads the plate. A server logs the hit. And for one machine-length instant, 3 hours into the manhunt, the Italian state is looking directly at the most wanted passenger in Europe. Nothing happens. No list on the continent contains that car, so the system files him under traffic and looks away. He never even feels it. Around 1750, nearly 4 hours after a patrol stood over the cut band, the signs start counting down to Gorizia, the Slovenian border. The last line on the map where Italy can lawfully lay a hand on him is under Schengen, a road sign you pass at traffic speed. No booth, no barrier, no officer to glance from a bulletin to a passenger seat. If 4 hours of Italian alarm are going to land anywhere, they land here. The sign comes, the sign goes, the car doesn't slow down. Past Croatia, the European arrest warrant Italy can issue becomes paper looking for a treaty. Per the American allegation, the balance of the fee, some 40,000 euros, settles once he reaches Serbia. By 6:40 the next morning, that is where he is, and Russia does not extradite its nationals. Ever. April 4th, 2023. USS surfaces in Moscow. "I am in Russia," he says publicly, crediting strong and reliable people. His father thanks the Russian president. Russian state media carries every word. The passenger is out of reach for good. Everyone who put him there is not. 6 men who took a superpower's problem for 50,000 euros. 3 judges who signed him into that villa. A prosecutor who wrote 4 pages warning exactly this. A wife who crossed a lobby. The bill for one man's afternoon is about to start finding whoever Italy can still touch, including a stranger who never met him. Who pays for the man nobody can reach? The moment he crosses into Slovenia, Artem Uss stops being an agent in this story. Somebody else has to become one. His name is Giovanni Tarzia, Milan prosecutor, one of the authors of those 4 November pages. He lost the argument. Now he inherits its consequences. His raw material, 1 plate, 1 motorway, 1 timestamp. He orders tower dumps for every cell along the convoy's corridor. 11 million rows come back. No algorithm gets to testify in an Italian courtroom, so human beings read them, him among them, night after night, screen light on his face, turning telephone noise into a convoy. Numbers that move when the cars move, go dark at the border, wake again in Serbia. July 7th, 2023. Italy's Court of Cassation annuls the extradition ruling and the custody order as moot. There is nobody to extradite. Then the doors start. Croatia, Slovenia. June 2024. Fiumicino Airport, Rome. The Geneva fixer slides his passport across a desk, and the screen takes one beat too long. A phone leaves its cradle behind the glass. The man who choreographed an exit from Italy is walked back in through a side door. Hold him in frame. His line in the ledger is coming. August 2024. Before first light, a house in the Veneto. A fist lands on Jovantic's doorframe at an hour chosen to embarrass sleep. He opens the door himself. Of course he does. Opening the door on demand is the trick he taught an entire country. This knock is played straight. A voice turns his surname into a question. The answer is a nod. Gloved hands move through his kitchen while the man paid 50,000 euros to make Italy's alarms lie stands in his own hallway, listening to his real one. He doesn't run. Where would he go? The getaway car is registered to his son. 6 of the men who took the contract will end up in front of an Italian judge. The 2 who drove out of that convoy and kept going never will. Tarzia asks the court for 5.5 years for the crew chief. Track that number. It is about to start shrinking. Because at this point, the Italian state stops asking where the man went and starts asking a far more dangerous question. Who inside this building is to blame? Mid-April 2023. Rome. Justice Minister Carlo Nordio orders an inspection of the Milan court. The answer lands back within a day, signed by the president of Milan's appeal court on day. And it says the one thing Rome cannot afford to hear. The ministry itself could have intervened in that custody arrangement at any moment. It never asked. April 19th. Nordio opens disciplinary action against the 3 judges who granted the house arrest. In Parliament the next day, their reasoning gets a one-word review. Heresy. They read a file, applied Article 275 bis as written, and signed. The most ordinary act of their working lives. Give one of them a single morning. The kiosk between the front door and the Palazzo di Giustizia, the one that has sold this judge the same paper for years, has the case face out on the rack, and somewhere down the front page column sits a signature that used to be nobody's business. The vendor has already read it. So has the tram. Then the courthouse steps, colleagues calibrating exactly how warmly to nod. The robe, the bench, because they keep taking the bench, all 3, ruling on other people's bail and house arrest. The same instruments now hanging over them, while a file with their names on its cover crawls toward a hearing where they will sit where defendants sit. 18 months of those mornings. The man who actually walked out gives interviews in Moscow. Somebody within driving distance has to carry it. October 4th, 2024. For once, the 3 of them come through a courtroom's public door and stand, while somebody else reads the ruling. Acquitted. All 3. You cannot punish judges for applying the law to what a file contains. And when the written reasons arrive on May 3rd, 2025, they turn on the minister. The only person formally rebuked over this entire affair is the one man who tried to make somebody answer for it. Now run the inventory this story has owed you since the hook said nobody was bribed. The judges, cleared. The patrol, the fastest response in 79 days. The device, transmitted every single time. The operator, correct on every dispatch. Corruption. 3 years of digging, nobody charged. Russian intelligence, excluded by the prosecutors themselves, on the record, they went hunting for a spy agency and found an invoice. Nothing in this machine failed. And that is exactly why it could be bought. A machine that jams at random cannot be priced. A machine that behaves identically every time can be costed, rehearsed, scheduled around. Which leaves arithmetic. If nobody failed, who paid? 2 columns. Build them with me. On the left, everything the state spent. 12 counts in Brooklyn, 7 defendants, a dedicated American task force, a $7 million reward, 7 people charged in Italy, formal requests into 4 legal systems, 11 million rows of phone records, 3 years of investigation, 2 trials. On the right, custody, actual human beings in actual cells. 5.5 years was the request. May 22, 2025, Milan. Jovancic stands for the verdict, an interpreter half a beat behind the judge, the number reaching him in a language he can take home. 3 years and 2 months. February 26, 2026. On appeal, 2 years and 2 months. April 15, 2026. Released, cleared to fly to Bosnia. 20 months. His 20 months are 600 separate mornings in an Italian prison. The count at 7, the tray, the hour in a concrete yard where 2 winters and 2 springs arrive as nothing but a change in the light. Uss lasted 5 weeks behind bars and spent a fortune making sure there would never be a 6th. Jovancic took the 50,000 and served the mornings instead. Now, the rest of the ledger, with faces on it. 1 defendant cooperates into house arrest. 1 takes a suspended term. A driver gets 970 days of community work, served making dentures for people who cannot afford them. At the far end of the chain, per the file, a man whose entire payment was a gold necklace. And the Geneva fixer walked back through Fiumicino? Italy gets his presence in a Milan courtroom. His line in the right-hand column reads 0, like every line on this page except 1. That is what beating the United States cost. April 2026. In Milan's Palazzo di Giustizia, the release order reaches the man who asked for 5.5 years. On the desk, the Basilio folder, 4 pages from November 2022 on top. Give this man a house and he is gone. Write the whole way down. Add the left column, add the right column. Don't let me do it for you. In February 2025, the American task force built to chase exactly this defendant is disbanded. The United States indicted Artem Uss. It posted $7 million for him. It never touched him. It has not touched him yet. Then the man nobody can reach does the one thing nobody predicted. He writes to the court. April 22nd, 2025. According to the Italian court record, an email arrives in Milan from Moscow. It is from Artem Uss. He offers to appear by video link and explain himself. Why he left, how he reached Serbia. The account the state spent 3 years and 11 million phone records assembling offered free by email. The court refuses. The last decision Italy makes about Artem Uss is a no. A second chair in that courtroom stayed empty for 3 years. 6 defendants sat down in front of an Italian judge. The charge sheet named a 7th, the woman who carried an escape across a hotel lobby at the weight of a paperback. His wife. Sit in the gallery for one of those hearings. A clerk reads her name into the room. The room holds the pause the law requires. No door, no footsteps, no lawyer rising. Everything Italy actually holds of her lasts 2 minutes. Heels on marble, a coat never taken off, a table she never looked at. Then the minutes swallow the silence and the trial moves on. 11 million rows reconstructed a convoy to the minute. Not one of them can subpoena Moscow. That walk was her whole part. The charge it left behind has no expiry date. Every border desk on the continent is now a door wired to her name. The exact tripwire he saw from the dark glass, the night he sent the word anyway. The 2 people the file says paid for all of this are the 2 Italy never got to question. In December 2023, Italy's financial police froze the villa at Basiglio, the shares behind the Cyprus Trust, the bank account. On his ledger, the villa was an asset, held 111 days, spent in 1 afternoon. Because custody is a claim the state must keep asserting minute by minute out of parts it does not own. Every part is a contract. Every contract has a price. 50,000 euros. 1 keycard, 1 bag of groceries, 1 strap. But the last face in this story belongs to none of them. After the escape, the United States asked Italy for another man. The next Russian name on its list stopped at Fiumicino. No convoy, no keycard, an American warrant, and catastrophic timing. His room is the room Uss paid a fortune to leave after 5 weeks. In July, his lawyers stand up to ask for exactly what the law once gave Uss, custody at a fixed address while the courts decide, and have to open with a sentence no defense lawyer expects to need. Our client is not Artem Uss. Everyone in that courtroom knows the name. That is the problem. The villa, the cut band, the Fiat Bravo, none of it his, all of it Wade. Application refused. A guard's hand at his elbow, the corridor, the van, the bunk. A man paying interest on an afternoon he had no part in. No Italian law changed over Basiglio. A habit changed. The price of one man's villa got charged to a stranger who had never met him. So hold the two rooms side by side. At Basilio, a legally perfect cell, gate closed, armored door intact, empty for 3 years, a prison holding nobody. In Rome, a smaller room with a working lock, holding a man Italy once would have trusted with an address. The next time a state announces it is holding somebody at home, tagged, monitored, checked at the door, ask who owns each piece of that sentence. And if you want to see what happens when the machinery itself gets outmaneuvered, by a man the FBI trained, paid, and then couldn't hold, watch this one next.